Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. In this program today, we will talk about the significance of the upcoming India European Union Summit. Coming Saturday, India and 27 nations European Union will have summit level talks to discuss how to take the relationship forward. Among the major topics of discussion, the two sides are expected to discuss the COVID cooperation and the proposed India-EU free trade agreement, for which negotiations have been going on for over a decade. Significantly, the India-EU summit is taking place at a time when EU is in confrontation with India's arch rivals, China and Pakistan. So does that make this upcoming summit more significant? We will analyze this in the agenda today with two former diplomats, Ambassador Sudhir Devara and Ambassador Ashok Sajanhar. But have a look at this small report before we start our conversation.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold talks via video conference with his Portugal counterpart on May 8 under the framework of annual India-European Union Summit. Portugal is the current chair of the 27-nation grouping. The talks were originally scheduled to be held in person in Portugal, but Modi's visit was cancelled in view of coronavirus surge in the country. Hence, the talks will now be held through video conference. The main topic of discussion is expected to be cooperation in fight against the COVID pandemic, which has ravaged the entire world. In this context, the two sides are expected to discuss the issue of production and easy flow of vaccine and other medical supplies. For the enhanced production of COVID vaccine, India has been seeking temporary suspension of IPR on such products. The two sides are also expected to discuss the proposed India-EU free trade agreement, for which negotiations have been going on for over a decade but without any conclusion. Significantly, the India-EU summit is taking place at a time when the EU is in confrontation with India's arch rivals China and Pakistan. The EU has surprisingly signed a free trade pact with China in December last year, but that is now in doldrums over China's behavior, including its aggressiveness in Indo-Pacific region and brutalities against the Uyghur Muslims. Similarly, the EU and Pakistan are facing a face-off over the issue of blasphemy laws enacted by Pakistan. The European Parliament recently adopted a resolution calling for a review of Pakistan's eligibility for General Scheme of Preference Plus GSP Plus status in wake of alarming abuse of blasphemy laws. This makes the environment for further enhancement of India-EU relations more favorable. Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests, Ambassador Devare and Ambassador Sajanhar. Welcome to the program, both of you, sir.
Thank you.
So I'll go to Ambassador Devare first about the upcoming EU summit. So first, your initial views, how do you see the significance of this summit?
Well, this summit is taking place after a long time, and there have been outstanding issues between EU and India. As you rightly mentioned, the long-standing trade agreement or a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement that has been defined in the context of the COVID situation. Naturally, the focus will be on cooperation in this very important and urgent field. The fact that one of the main leaders of European Union, namely Chancellor Merkel, she will be leaving at the end of September. That also is a very significant development, because India and Chancellor had very close relationship over the years, and both India and Germany are leading players in India, these negotiations.
Yeah.
but mainly with respect to the EU and India trade agreement, it is first of all, of course, going on for a long time, and now there is a, as you mentioned, now the shadow of the comprehensive agreement on investment, which China and EU signed at the end of 2020, and it came as a surprise because that was the time when the relationship between States and China was really at a very low level,
Yeah.
and the trade rivalry was going very sharp, and therefore it was really surprised that EU and European Union signed this, China signed this agreement. We can analyze that. I think, overall, this is a very, I would say, welcome development.
Yeah.
That EU and India are coming to talk. The earlier we signed this agreement, better for us, especially since now we are out of RCEP in the Indo-Pacific region. And one more important thing I would like to mention.
Yeah.
That the many countries of the EU, especially Germany, France, they are taking keen interest in the success of the policies in the Indo-Pacific.
Yeah.
Of democratic countries, and therefore their cooperation in this region through their participation in this trade agreement will be much value to all of us.
Yeah, I'll come back to you again. So, Ambassador Sajanhar, your initial comments on, views, expectations from the upcoming summit, particularly when we talk it in the backdrop of, India, EU and China trade deal going, haywire, all in doldrums now, which was, as Ambassador Devre also mentioned, that it was surprising that they signed a deal in December last year, but now it is, I think, in trouble. So, in that context, how do you see the upcoming summit?
First, thank you, Ajay. First, let me look at the EU-India relations per se, and I'll come to the EU-China partnership also as it moves forward. From the EU-India perspective, I think it's a very important summit because it is really like turning of a full circle. We need to remember that the India-EU summit relationship started in 2000 in Portugal. And right now also, if
Portugal is the chair,
if the second wave of COVID in India had not really come about in as strong a manner as it has done and created such a huge crisis, then this would have been a face-to-face meeting when Prime Minister Modi was expected to travel to Porto in Portugal and have the meeting on the 8th of May. And this would have been particularly significant because you would have had an opportunity to interact and meet with all the 27 leaders of the different countries, prime ministers, presidents of these different countries. And also you would have had an opportunity to meet with Madam Ursula von der Leyen, the EC president, and also Charles Michel, the EU president. So that would have been a very important meeting, but because of COVID, he cannot go. So again, it will be held on a virtual basis. Secondly, that this meeting comes after a very successful, again, a virtual meeting that took place last year in July, if my memory serves me correctly, in which a large number of decisions were taken in terms of taking our relationship forward. EU-India relationship and the summit partnership, in fact, has suffered a little because although the meetings at summit level were to take place every year, but we were not able to do it. Initially, there were some issues, some problems, some difficulties, but I think of late, both India and the European Union have recognized the significance and the importance of this partnership both whether it is in terms of values, both are democracies, in terms of freedom, in terms of open markets, in terms of transparency. So, in value terms, both of them are very important, and India's significance and importance as a global player is also increasing. So, last year, when the summit took place again virtually, a number of important decisions were taken. Without going into very much great detail, one of the decisions was on this bilateral trade and investment agreement that has been going on. Discussions on that have been going on in fits and starts since 2007. It started in 2007 in Helsinki. It was expected that it would be completed in 2 years' time, but now it's about 14 years and we are still nowhere close to it. But
I think one or two issues are holding back that actually, isn't it? Pharma sector and services sector, I guess. They are the taking
there are
issues.
pharma, there is alcoholic beverages, there is automobiles, and from our point of view, it is the travel of skilled professionals into the EU countries. And initially we had.
So isn't it surprising that we have not been able to resolve these issues over last, as you mentioned, since 2007, these issues are pending. We are not.
Well, let me put it this way again, Ajay, that again, I don't want to take much time over it because I want to make a couple of sentences on the EU-China thing.
Yeah.
The problem here now is that the issues that were outstanding in 2007 until about 2013-14, issues have now completely changed because now there are issues of data privacy, of AI, of 5G. There are many other issues, the current technological issues which need to be discussed and on which you need to take decisions rather than only on those. And one of the issues, in terms of e-commerce, we don't have a view even within our own country as to what is the position that we want to take. Right. So I think these are issues, but still, last point in this is that last year, both the leaders of the two sides decided that our ministers will meet. And the ministers, two ministers, Piyush Goyal on our side, and Vadil Dombrovskis, who is the Commissioner of Trade as far as EU is concerned, they had a meeting in February. They are expected to meet again before this meeting. I don't know because of this COVID issue whether they've been able to have an interaction with each other or not. But I think this will be an important area where the final thing here I would say is that both sides are thinking of getting an early harvest. That means have some low-hanging fruit and have a limited trade deal. So let us see whether that goes on there.
Yeah.
Now on the EU-China thing,
yeah.
I think that's also become very important because, as you mentioned, unfortunately I couldn't hear what Ambassador Devre mentioned, and I'm sure he would have referred to it. On the last day of the German presidency, the agreement on investment was signed. It was not really a trade agreement, but an investment agreement that was signed between EU and China. Discussions on that had been going on for a long time. For the last, I think, 6-7 years they have been going on. And the United States at that time, Jake Sullivan, at that time the presumptive national security advisor, he had advised the European Union that the Biden administration will be taking office on the 20th of January of 2021. So EU should not be in a hurry. But America's concerns were completely sidelined, completely sidetracked, and they signed this agreement. But now the ratification of this agreement by all the 27 states, that has come under a huge question mark because of the activities of China, aggressiveness, expansionism of China, and its behavior in Xinjiang, its behavior in Hong Kong, its behavior against India, its behavior against Taiwan, and against South China Sea.
Right. So, Ambassador Devre, I come to you. As we talked about, as Ambassador Sajjan also mentioned about that, India-EU, I mean, we have very goodwill, good relations, and there is a huge potential in this trade deal, which we have been waiting for over a decade. As I mentioned, that it is significant that despite all that, we know the potential, we have goodwill and everything. So we have not been able to resolve one or two issues because of which this entire deal is stuck. What do you say on that?
Yeah, it is very unfortunate because FTA or the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreements, they play a great role in improving relations between two countries.
I think there were differences on the terminology also. I think Europe was it was call it trade and investment, we call it free trade or something.
Exactly. Now, the issues are, as Ashok mentioned also, one is the IPR, the intellectual property rights, and that also relates mainly to pharma, also wines and spirits business you export from these countries, auto products, etc. You see, you cannot minimize the importance of EU. Somehow EU on our canvas, on our radar, lately has not been given that kind of importance which it deserves.
Right.
And it is by far the largest trading bloc, 27 countries. And most of EU countries and India have very good relations.
Yeah.
So we do not have any political problems. We do not have barring this.
That is why I said it is surprising that we have not been able to conclude this deal.
I think somehow we have been talking, and therefore I feel that this is a good opportunity for resuming the talks again.
Right. So
China
Ambassador Derek, can I stop you here because we have to take a short break. We'll be back and continue the discussion. So Ambassador Derek, you were saying something about.
Well, I would like to add that Brexit, which also had cast a shadow on the entire economics or politics of EU for last several years.
Right.
Now that is out, and we are now developing independently relations with UK, and UK and India summit took place at the virtual summit only a couple of days ago.
Yeah, that has been the case. I mean, even when UK was part of EU, we had good relationships individually with all these countries.
We had good relations,
but as a bloc, we have not been able to develop that relationship.
They were not moving, satisfactorily forward. I think now their problems are getting resolved, or at least they have been kept aside. So we develop our relations with EU on one hand and with UK on the other. And
Ambassador, you also mentioned about Merkel, that she has been very friendly to India. But recent comments she made were very not in good taste when she said that we have allowed India to be the pharmacy leader and all that. I mean, when you talked about just now about IPR issues, those are also very sticking issues. And when you take it in the context of Merkel's comments, though it reflects there is some discomfort or unease in European bloc on India.
Well, I think we'll have to explain all these issues to the European leaders now. This will be a good opportunity because there is no doubt that India's strength in the pharma field are well recognized.
Yeah.
But with respect to the the licenses or the permission granted for production of vaccine, the pricing, I think all these issues had somehow come in the way.
Yeah.
And I think they need to be resolved between the two countries.
Right. So, Ambassador Sajjan,
pharma is going to be a main area for us in European Union.
Yeah, we have the prowess in that. We are very powerful in that, but we want some easy facilities or maybe access other things, raw material and IPR issues to be resolved.
We can do joint production in these countries.
So, but Europe is hesitant. Ambassador Sajjanar, I want to ask you about this. Europe has this reservation about India's progress in pharmaceutical sector. Why so?
The question is, Europe is hesitant about India's
European
growth in the
countries,
pharma sector. Is concerned, is not very happy with this.
Yes.
I think that is something that one should not be truly surprised.
I mean, it is not. I mean, I'll say European Union is not encouraging towards allowing these India's pharma sector to grow or maybe expand.
Let me put it this way, Ajay. That after all, if you go back a little, a few decades ago, Meaning, when we started the discussions in the Uruguay round on the on the multilateral trade negotiations, it was principally started by the pharma sector because they wanted product patents for their pharma products. And countries like India, Brazil, South Africa at that time were giving only process patents. So the pharma industry in the United States and in Europe is very powerful. But they have a separate niche because India has been able to enter the niche, the market of the generic medicines, and which are very effective, which are quality-wise very good, but which are also very competitively priced in terms of low price. All the higher price and state-of-the-art technology in which much of the research is being done, that is being done by all these American and the European countries. That's why you would have seen that US has been so reluctant in waiving of the IPR rights as far as even the COVID vaccines are concerned. You would have seen how Bill Gates has responded, meaning he was taken to be the messiah of the downtrodden in the manner in which he has spoken that, countries like India cannot be allowed to manufacture this high technology vaccines without realizing that more than 65% of the global vaccines are being manufactured in India and are supplied there.
Right.
So, yes, I agree with you that there is this unhappiness that, there is this weariness, there is this anxiety, there is this reluctance that Indian companies, pharma companies, should not be going and taking space, trying to occupy space which is now the preserve of the European and the British companies, whether it is even as far as AstraZeneca is concerned, or it is Roche, or it is, any of Pfizer or any of the other companies. So definitely there is that concern, but India has been able to, by dint of its innovation and creativity, has been able to create a niche for itself
So,
as far as the
yeah.
pharma sector.
After this, when we talk about IPR issues, the US has now given a go ahead. So, do you think that will change things now in Europe also? Ambassador Sajjanar.
Yeah, I should think so, because I think in all these areas, it is the United States which gives the lead. And so if the United States has said as much, then I would imagine that the European countries will also follow suit, and European Union in the WTO, because I think the discussions should take place very soon, and Europe should also support that same position that has been taken, the proposal that has been given by India and South Africa, that we should temporarily waive the IPRs.
So I wanted to ask Ambassador Deore about this. India and South Africa had applied for this waiver, 6-7 months back, maybe, or more than that, but it has been pending and there has been no resolution. So do you think now there will be some movement?
I think this is a forward movement, because in WTO we were able to muster very wide support. Almost 100 countries were supporting us, but some of the developed countries which have the monopoly of IPR pharma product, and the new Director General of WTO,
He has welcomed
was also of the same view that these waivers may not be given because they may undermine patent regime. But it's a good development, and given the fact that vaccines in very large quantities are required now all over the world, I think this will go a long way. So with the US concurrence, I think European countries will also
there should be some forward movement,
and I think this will be a forward movement in this very important area.
But in that context, before we close, we have 1 minute. Ambassador Sajjanar, I want to ask you, this IPR issue, I think needs to be relooked now in the contemporary world, because I think it's outdated. What do you say?
Well, there are provisions for compulsory licensing. It's not as if the governments do not have, possibility of keeping the IPRs on one side when there is a national emergency, when there is a national requirement, and when there is not adequate production of these life-saving drugs. The governments do have that right. And that right has been woven into the WTO agreement on TRIPS, the trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. So maybe, the very strict terms and conditions under which the compulsory licensing policy can be used. Maybe that needs to be made a little more flexible so that
yeah.
governments are able to use it more, whenever the situation arises without any loss of time, without going to WTO. It should be their sovereign right.
There should be some automatic system.
Yes, yes, that is right. So
Yes.
I think that definitely could be done so that there are not so many obstacles and checks and balances. Because as you said very rightly, this issue has been brought in front of the global community for the last very many months by India and South Africa.
Yeah.
And even now,
And so much of time has been wasted.
Exactly, exactly. Otherwise, and it's not only for India, it's not only for South Africa, it's for all developing
world.
countries, it's for all poorer countries.
Humanity.
In Africa,
Humanity.
in Latin
Entire
America, in Asia, everywhere.
Yeah, it is for the entire world. I think there needs to be a relook at this IPR issue. But the time of this program today is over. Thank you both of you for participating.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.